So, good morning. You join me with my Vario 612D with the OM602 engine in. I've taken the engine cover off the inside so there's a bit of light in there, and this morning I'm just going to do the diesel filter. I've got my equipment here, etc., and I'm just going to set you up down there. It's not going to be particularly attractively edited, this video, but I'm hoping it will show you how I do it, and that's the way that I do it. I'm not a professional. So first thing I'm doing is covering the belts, because I don't want to spill diesel on those belts that run on the front of the engine. I'm covering them with a plastic bag, and I'm putting some absorbent material on there as well. I don't like to spill things unnecessarily. I'm also putting some absorbent material just underneath the fuel filter, and this is the diesel filter here, and I've got a replacement new one. It's a 19mm nut on the top, so I'm first going to crack that off. It won't be tight. It's nice. Shouldn't be tight. You can see that just I keep the top of this quite clean anyway. With diesel, and as I say, I'm not an expert, but with diesel it's important to keep the contamination to a minimum. So you can see there, this nut is coming out quite nicely. Be careful lifting that out. Two reasons: one, the diesel filter will be full of diesel, or certainly more than half full, and also there's some O-rings on this which you do not want to lose. In this case there's one O-ring, so I'll place that over there, and I'm going to lift this out without spilling fuel. And if I do spill fuel, it's not a tragedy. So I'm lifting that. Nice. Set that to one side. It's clean underneath there. So what I've got here is, let me set you over there. What I've got here is the new filter. Got it from Mercedes. Inside here is the O-ring I mentioned for the inlet, which I'm going to swap over. Let's put that on there. It's the right part, and it's going to go on. So the next thing I'm going to do is fill this with diesel fuel. Clean, fresh diesel. Okay, that filter is full with new fresh diesel fuel. I'll dry the top of that off, and then you'll join me as I offer it up to the housing. Okay, so the next thing to do is to remove this O-ring here from the retaining bolt and fit the new one. It's quite a tight fit, and it just ensures the seal is made. So that's the old one, and this is the new one. I'm not putting any lubrication on here. As you can see, there's a bit of diesel on there already. I'm not going to use the screwdriver to fit it around the thread, but I'm just going to use it to pop it over that shoulder, and that is up there. So you don't want to get that ring, the O-ring, stuck up here, so it just fits nice and tightly around there. Just make sure you've got no contamination in there or in there. This is lovely and clean. So that is going to drop into the top once I've offered the filter up. So let's do that now. Put you down here. Not sure you're going to see a great deal. This is going to be big hands in there, but let's see. So I filled the filter with diesel. If I spill any, it's no worries because I've got some protection down there. It just tucks in on the Vario really nicely. It is leaking a tad, but that's okay, as I say. Sorry you can't see very much, but you've got the bolt here. That's going to drop into the top, making sure it's nice and flat. So that's held in place there with the nut. I always make sure that the filter is twisted in such a way that I can see the part numbers on here, so when I come to reorder next time I can double check I've got the correct item before I actually start cracking nuts. Okay, I'm going to now tighten that. So back to the 19mm, torque that to the factory spec, which is not tight at all. Obviously you don't want air in, you don't want it leaking, but you're compressing a rubber washer, so you can get a feel for how tight that is, but there will be a torque spec for it. So now just a question of wiping down and checking for leaks and testing it. So you'll join me when I come to crank it on and start it. Okay, so that's the job done. The retaining nut or bolt is holding the filter. That's nice and tight and it's seated well up here. The O-ring is on. This pipe here is the diesel feed, and as we remove the filter the diesel dropped down this pipe. So when I jump in and crank it now, I reckon it's going to take a few moments to purge diesel up here to top the filter up. The OM602 is, well, this one is self-priming, so there's no hand prime on it. So I think it's probably time to test it. We've got that is certainly the next thing on the list. So let me put that up there, and I'll go and get it started. So that's great, it's running well. I'm going to check it for leaks, and I'm going to just keep monitoring it steadily these next few days. Okay, thanks for joining me. Bye.